Hey guys, Axel Gossart here, and today I want to talk to you about what are the perks of owning a property in the UK. And I just want to get straight into it because many people don't understand the multiple benefits that you get of owning a property in the UK. And so in this video, I just want to break it down. And if you find it helpful, like, subscribe, and share this video so that it helps many more people like yourself. So let's get started. So number one, the big thing, which is a massive up when it comes to owning properties, is taxation. Now, as you would know, in the UK, you get taxed between 20 to 45% on your income. And as part of owning a property, you are able to legally, I'm not going to say avoid, but pay less tax, basically. And that is done in multiple ways. Number one, since 2017, what the government has done is that for anybody that is owning a property in their own name, they actually pay tax on the income of the property, not being able to offset the cost of the mortgage, which is causing a lot of properties actually to lose money. And I've personally seen a lot of landlords on the market right now selling their properties for that specific reason. And so for us, what we've been doing is buying properties in companies, which gives us the ability to actually offset some of our company's expenses in order to reduce the tax that we're paying on the profit that we're making on a monthly or on a yearly basis. And so the things that you're able to offset are the things like your car, anything that has your logo on, for example, your company logo, you can offset that as well. If you have an office, you can offset that as well. And you can pay, phone bills that again is being used for the business off that as well, which means that once you have a very good accountant, they will be able to guide you on how to pay less tax altogether on your income generated by the properties. You know what's the best thing? By buying things directly in the company, you usually save between 20 to 45% of the cost of that specific item. The reason to that is because if you had to take out the money from your company to your personal name, you would have to pay income tax, which is between 20 to 45% depending on the income that you have. And basically, whatever item you buy, you would have paid tax to be able to buy the item because you took out the money and to buy in your personal name. And then you also be some tax again on the object that you're actually purchasing. There might be VAT or something else. So you're actually paying tax on tax. And therefore, buying it through a company saves you quite a lot of money. Number two is capital appreciation, which is what I love. Now, property, especially in the UK, because we have low supply of houses and we're in a shortage of houses, and plus the UK is an island, which means that we're not making any more land and the population is growing on year, it means that the demand for property keeps on increasing. Now, that means that the value of property actually increases, supply and demand. The more demand you have and the less supply you have, the higher the price hike basically, which is super interesting. And number two is the fact that property actually rides inflation because it is an asset. Very similarly to the food in your supermarkets, if it costs more, for example, to make a specific product, what happens is that the supermarket would then raise the prices in order to absorb that cost. Very similarly to property. So we know since the 1950s, basically the money has devalued by about 3,000%, which what used to be £1 now is an equivalent to £30. And guess who that's been passed on to? The next buyer. As I'm going to go more in detail about, it's actually getting passed on to the tenant. So the second thing that I'll be speaking about is cash flow. Now, when it comes to cash flow, as part of owning the property, again, you get paid over a long period of time with capital appreciation, which is how much property goes up in value over time, which is super exciting. And we're usually able to use that as equity to then buy more houses. That's how the wealthy gets wealthier, unfortunately, or fortunately for some that are able to use that secret. And the second thing is cash flow. Now, cash flow means that you actually get paid a profit or rent every single month. So you own a property that goes up in value, and you also get paid on the rent. So you get paid twice in property. Now that rent increases year on year because of demand of population in the UK. And again, because we have a housing shortage, what happens is that you've got fewer properties for rent on the market and more people that actually want to rent, which means prices go up. Now, secondly, it also rides inflation. Why? Because whenever the cost of borrowing goes up, which usually actually follows inflation as well, it is actually passed on to rent because unfortunately, otherwise, landlord would not be able to make a profit. And we run property as a business, as we do in my company, which means that we can't make a loss. And if we had to make a loss, we'll have to sell the house, which in turn then takes away from houses being able to be supplied for rent. So then you go into that vicious cycle of not being able to provide properties, more renters, and more price hikes. And finally, the last one is leverage. Now, it's one of the major perks, right? property is one of the few things, especially in the UK, where you're able to borrow from the bank 75% of the value of the asset. Now, bear in mind, if you were starting a business, you wouldn't get 75%. If you were starting anything else, if you was buying stocks and shares, you wouldn't get that amount of leverage as well. But property is an asset, which means that it is real, it is physical, it's in demand, it's a utility, it's something that's going to be used for years to come. I mean, most of the houses in the UK were built between 1920s to 1950s, which is super exciting, right? Which means that the bank feels very comfortable to lend you money on the basis that their money is backed by an asset that you own. And because of that, you are able to purchase properties that might be worth 200, 300, 400,000 pounds with a very small deposit in comparison to the overall value of the asset. So your money actually stretches way beyond anything that you could buy on the open market, such as stocks and shares and the rest. Super excited. And because of that, debt actually devalues over time, which means, I give you the example of since 1950, the pound has actually, inflation has eroded the pound's worth of about 3,000%, which was in 1950, £1 is an equivalent to £30 now. So I'm pretty sure you have some family members that bought houses in 1950s, 1930s. They bought the houses maybe around for £7,000 to £9,000, which before was a very, very big amount, right? It was more than a year's wage. Now, £9,000, people earned that on a monthly basis. And that's the power of inflation. But if they had taken the debt then, have not paid off any of the debt, only paid off the interest, that £9,000 that they took on in the 1950s will still be £9,000 today. But the value of that £9,000 would have eroded significantly over time. And that's the beauty of things. The longer you owe the property, the more profit you make, the more capital appreciation you have, and the lower the debt in comparison to the value of your asset you have. Which means then you have the ability to use the asset to buy more properties by releasing some equity. You might be able to sell and to make a very big profit, or you might be able to continue renting it, and because the rental keeps on going up over time, because it rides inflation and it also follows the demand, you actually make more and more profit as you go on. So this is pretty much it for today's video. It's my first YouTube video where I'm actually speaking to the camera like that. So if you want to encourage me and you found that very useful, then share it to someone. And if you would like any help with your property journey, just DM me on Instagram or send us an email, and we'll be more than happy to assist you in your property journey and help you buy your next houses, because that's what we do. So speak very soon and watch out for the next episode.